Larry,
Yes.
name the player on the 49ers defense who faces the most pressure this year. Not prepared for this question. Right off the top of your head.
Most pressure this year, Drake Jackson.
Drake Jackson.
Drake
Why?
Jackson, because he has to go from he wasn't even active the last game, in the playoffs or with the last month or so of the season. And now, unless they add somebody of significance, he has to shoulder the starting job opposite Nick Bosa. And he looks great, but it's a tall ask, right?
Yeah, it's a great one. And if it's not him, then it'll be someone else who doesn't have as much hype. I'm going to go with someone else.
What
How
do you
about
got?
Javon Hargrave? Okay. Great player.
Yes.
But he hasn't done anything for the 49ers yet. And the way Niner fans and his teammates will feel about him is based on what he does now, from now going forward. And if he doesn't have a good year this year, he's making all this money. People are going to look at him as, D Ford, Quan Alexander. So I fully expect him to be good, but he still has to have that good first impression. And if he has a season this year like Armstead had last year, Niner fans are going to be like, WTF, Javon, which could happen. 29.
He's got a very interesting build. And it's like, if you watch his build, you think, well, maybe he's out of shape, but he's actually moves incredibly well with that build. And that it's kind of a little bit more like Stubblefield. Remember, Stubblefield had that build, but was an awesome pass rusher. Hargrave is kind of very along the same lines. I mean, he's got a huge legs, carries a ton of weight, lower body wise. I mean, he's got the widest knee you're ever going to see. But yeah, he secured the bag, and the expectations are high, and they let some really good players go to create that room for him, and now he's got to make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, he as good as he is, as much as the Niners talk him up, he's only gone to one Pro Bowl in his career. Not that the Pro Bowl is the end-all, be-all, but still. I mean, he hasn't been like this consistent elite player in the league, although he has reached some heights. Anyone else? There was one more person I wanted to... Oh, I got one. And this is a guy I like a lot. He's a young player. He's cool to cover. It's nothing personal. But I do think there's a lot of pressure on this player. Talanoa Hufanga.
I was thinking the same thing.
He had a really good year last year, but he got the All-Pro on it. It almost might have been a little too much. Teams are going to be coming after him this year. Not that they weren't last year, but he's got to do it again.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like he played really great in the first month, and some of them were high-profile games, and so he got a lot of the love that it was a little surprising. And if you watched him all year, he fell off in the second half of the year. He fell off tackles. He was not nearly as reliable. So yeah, I mean, I love Hufanga. I think he's a culture player. I think he's he's going to have to take a leadership role, but yeah, he is going to be thought of as a premier player. And, I mean, there's some nice traits. I don't know if he's a premier player.
But to your point, he's also being looked at. Don't just be a premier player. Like, he's expected to improve, but not just improve, but be a leader too. Basically, be Fred Warner. Fred Warner was good as a second-year player, great as a third-year player. Do that, Talanoa. And I think he has it in him, but that's a lot of pressure. If he just stays the same, people might look at him differently.
Well, and if you watch him running around out there, he looks bigger and stronger, but that's not, in my opinion, where he needed to go with his body. I thought he needed to be, quicker, faster, leaner, and he looks bigger, stronger, like he's carrying more weight in the upper body. That's great. You'll do a lot of lifting in the off season, but man, he's playing a spot where, his strength is his strength. I think his weakness is his coverage ability. So I was hoping that he would kind of look quicker, faster, more explosive. Instead, he looks a little bigger, a little bit more yoked.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like, oh, well, the Niners are set at strong safety. Like, I still think he needs to prove himself one more time. Hargrave is a proven vet, even if he's just a one-time Pro Bowler. Like, Talanoa has had one good year. So let's see if he can back it up like Fred Warner has, like Dre Greenlaw has, like Travarius Ward has, and Hargrave and Armstead and Bosa, everyone. So Fungus has to do it twice.
And we always talk about Gibson losing his job to Jair Brown, but the reality is that Brown can play in the box or down the field. And if Hufanga doesn't play well,
thank you,
and Jair plays well, and Gibson plays well, Hufanga could wind up not even starting on this team. Correct. I think that's very real.
I think Brown could absolutely play strong safety in this scheme. And if we're being honest, I mean, the way I felt last year, the better safety on the Niners last year, to me, was Gibson. Maybe he was just in the right place at the right time, but I thought Hufanga went through stretches where he was playing hero ball. I think D'Amico called it that, and was hurting the defense. So maybe Hufanga will be better than Gibson this year. He should be. But yeah, a lot of pressure on him. Weary Nut says, bum they haven't signed Ja'Cour Pearson. Me too. Are they scared?
I know. I saw that he worked out. I put that out there. I told him, I said, because I connected with him, and I'm like, hey man, if you make the team, if they sign you, let's come on the show and we'll do a little stream. He's like, yeah, I'm down for it. Then he had the workout, and I haven't heard if they're going to sign him or not, but it would be nice. I mean, they don't really need a guy there. They just cut Shea Wyatt, right, Grant, for the extra defensive end, and Shanahan's line was, we were deep at wide receiver, so were they going to go add Pearson? But he is a difference maker, speedster, and I'm not really worried about his diminutive size. I'd rather have a guy like that who gets separation.
Sounds like he's probably going back to the XFL, unfortunately, but I wouldn't bet against him. It seems like he is a good professional wide receiver, and he's going to keep proving it.